What is your process for deciding whether you should use off-the-shelf software or whether you should build something totally bespoke and proprietary, like as a science, well, not just at CERN, but also in your current job, which I'm sure we'll
Yeah.
talk about in a little bit. Like, how do you think about the build versus buy question coming from your background?
It's always a hard decision, as I'm sure you guys are very well familiar with. I think
Well, I'm
for
selling
me,
software, so I think everybody should
uh,
buy it. You know, I don't want anybody to build their own
well,
stuff.
then it's our, I mean, we're all selling software, so it's our responsibility to make sure we build something that, is useful, right? So
Yeah.
actually, that's sort of how I ended up that in tooling is like sort of thinking deeper and how could this tool be better? So yeah, for me, it comes down, honestly, one of the deciding factors is frustration. So sometimes you'll find a tool that kind of does what you need it to do. And if that's enough, if you're not spending a lot of time within the tool per se, if you're not, routinely getting frustrated by it, that's fine. Okay. But then there is, oh, I can't do this very simple thing that I want to do because of the limitations of the tool. That level, and it's really hard. Like, I have sympathy as a tool builder, as I'm sure you do. Like, I have sympathy for getting the right level of abstraction for a tool that you're building. It's difficult, but also as a user, if you don't have that right level of abstraction for what you're trying to do and your experience and what you're used to, then it's just really frustrating. Yeah, so it's a frustration index for me, I think. So personally, as an example, I hate all BI tools. I think most people do, actually. BI tools suck.
Yeah, that's why everybody owns like 8 of them, because
Right.
none of them do exactly what you want.
Exactly. And no one's cracked the code, and maybe it's either like trivial or it's never going to be cracked, right? So for me, if I need to visualize something, I'm not going to go to a BI tool, right? I'm going to use like plot. I mean, not that that's super low level either, but like something like Plotly or Bouquet or something, because I know, and partly it's because I know how to do, like, I know exactly the idiosyncrasies of those tools as well. So abstraction's nice, obviously. Otherwise, we would be coding in Fortran or assembly. When I get too frustrated by the limitations of a tool, I think usually is when I reach for something else, or building it myself. And then to be honest, like, so when I worked directly, we had an NLP based product and we were using open source Airflow and we were using Databricks, that was sort of like the basic stack that we had. And it was really nice to have Databricks, not just for the managed Spark aspect, but also because it's just like, it's a pretty good user experience, right? You're sort of sitting in one place, you're doing your notebooks and so on and so forth. And I didn't mind using Airflow either. OSS Airflow was perfectly fine. It wasn't that hard to use or set up for our use cases. And then I went and worked at Astronomer, which is a managed Airflow service. And my first thing was, I mean, I was excited to work there and whatnot. And definitely my Airflow experience was something that, they wanted me for as well. But I was like, okay, why would anyone buy us? Right? What are we
Yeah.
provide if open source Airflow is easy enough to use, then what can we provide on top of that would make us appealing? And that's, I think, the sort of interesting question. Like, or I found enough interest in there that I sort of went deeper, and now I'm at Upsolver. Is how do you find out what the needs are that are unmet, and how do you build to that? Because I do think that there are sort of waves of companies or managed versions of tools that don't really add a lot of value, but I think they fizzle out as well. Like, it's like something gets popular and then it's sort of like, actually, is there enough value here? So, but if you can find that, like, this is what's the piece that's missing compared to the open source version or compared to your competitors, that's the differentiator that really